It's a level check. Meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer giving you a level check. Now, if you're already watching on Facebook, getting ready to see the live weather show, it's under a minute away. And we will begin by looking at a camera shot and talk about 2 first alert weather days, possibility of a little wet snow coming our way as we head into Thanksgiving morning. But overall, around this area, no real big travel issues coming our way. Okay, so it still says 7:14. We're about a minute away. I got to turn on a couple other things. Make sure that Roku's up and running this time. All right. Okay, it is 7:15. Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer live in the First Alert Weather Center at Fox 19 now. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7:15 p.m. A little bit more of an in-depth look. And we have to go pretty fast on TV and a little bit more calm look to help you get a feeling for what's about to happen. 40 degrees at the International Airport. That's the 7 p.m. temperature. And as we look out over downtown Cincinnati from South Fairmont, you can see pretty good definition. Not a lot of haze, nothing that looks grungy out there. We are definitely going to begin to see a little bit of a difference coming our way, and that difference begins tomorrow afternoon. Now, the clouds thicken up tonight, tomorrow. Tomorrow late afternoon we'll begin to see a few showers, becomes more widespread, and maybe some heavy rain for Wednesday evening. And then as we head into Thursday morning, it cools off and becomes mixed with some wet snow. But ground and air temperatures will stay warmer than freezing, so it's another wet situation. If the snow comes down in a pretty quick burst in any one location, some of the roads could be temporarily slushy, but it'll quickly melt off, and we are not in for a traffic stopping kind of event. On Thanksgiving Day. We're in for just traffic slowdown due to the rain, and most of that's gone by 10:30 a.m., even in our far eastern counties. And so the bulk of Thanksgiving Day looks pretty good for travel around the tri-state. All right, so let's go ahead and see what else we have coming our way here. Current temperatures at the International Airport and other airports. Look at that. The Butler County Regional Airport down to 36 in Hamilton. Harrison 37, 36 in Madison. Falmouth, you're at 39, 37 in both Richmond and Middletown. 37 in Washington Courthouse. So it is chilly around the tri-state, and it's going to stay chilly for a while. Latest wind chill values, not that much different, maybe a couple degrees cooler than the temperature in some locations, but overall not that much different than the temperature because we've got light winds out there. Excuse me a second, I got to take a sip of Diet Mountain Dew. Okay, let's go on now. Now that green stuff you see, the green bloom, that is just cloud level moisture. It's not precipitation. And if we zoom out on this satellite radar loop, you can see the beginning of what we have here. Now this, notice it's all moving to the north and east. So this is essentially warm front that's above the ground, and that's causing some precipitation. So the air is rising up and over the cold dome of air heading north and eastward, and that's just the far eastern edge of the system that's coming our way. None of this will impact us. And most of it is cloud level moisture, not precipitation making it to the ground. So if we zoom way out, the culprit that's going to bring us that chance of rain and snow is coming out of the Rocky Mountains right here. Okay, whenever a system comes through the Rocky Mountains, they're tall enough and big enough, the systems kind of get discombobulated. Once they clear the mountains and get out over the smoother plains, where they can get their act together, they become more recognizable. And so this system will kind of scoot along where this cloud cover band is and head on into the tri-state and bring us that wet weather. Okay, now there's a good part of this because we still need to recharge the soil moisture. If you're a gardener, if you've got a lawn at home, or if you're a farmer, you know darn well that we still need the moisture. It's taking a while to make it up, and this will be just another kind of blessing in disguise. It does bring some lousy weather for driving, but it doesn't bring anything really hazardous. It's kind of going to be like driving on a rainy day with some snowflakes coming down in addition to that. Okay, so there it is again, full screen. That's the thing. That's beginning to come our way. Now, if you happen to be flying into Denver tomorrow, might be a little slow because they do expect pretty much snowfall out there. So 2 first alert weather days, Wednesday afternoon and evening, and then Thursday morning. The rain begins Wednesday afternoon and evening, changes to wet snow, rain mix overnight. At times for a while it'll be just plain snow. Thursday in the morning we're looking at the wintry mix ending, and then it turns cold and blustery, and we'll talk about the timing specifically here as we look at this model. Okay, so we start at 4 o'clock today. You can see temperatures were only in the 40s. Now notice as we head into Wednesday morning, we don't get very cold. In other words, we're going to dip a little bit in the area overnight. Temperatures will dip down this evening, but as the cloud cover thickens up, as you pull that bigger blanket up over the tri-state, the temperatures will steady out. So they'll drop into the mid and upper 30s and kind of hold there through the night because of the increased cloud cover that's coming our way. So at 3:30 p.m. tomorrow, we're in the 40s once again, and look at the rain developing up to the north. And that's mostly light rainfall. Some of it will be cloud level moisture, so it probably won't be as extensive as you see there. Then as we head on into the evening hours, notice this, okay? We have the rain, everything's beginning to sink, but we're beginning to get a band of sometimes heavy rain in here. Now, with this, there could be a clap of thunder, no severe weather, no flooding rains, but there could be enough rain to cause some standing water on the roads. And this is 9 p.m. Wednesday, so Wednesday evening. So this is the heavier rainfall band that's developing. You can see the oranges and the yellows, the dark green that goes from Versailles to Lawrenceburg, right through Cincinnati, through Covington, Newport, through the northern part of Campbell County, right through Batavia, down into the Georgetown area, and then south of Hillsborough. And that is what it looks like at 9 p.m. Okay, so we'll go back to full screen here and watch what happens now. We head a little bit farther we head to 10:30. There's a broad band of fairly heavy rainfall from Batesville and Versailles through Lawrenceburg, through Cincinnati, to Westchester area, to Warren County south of Lebanon, to Highland County north of Hillsborough, and that extends all the way down into northern Kentucky in spots. Okay, that's 10:30 p.m. And I want you to note the temperatures there. The temperatures are in the upper 30s in a few spots, mostly in the lower 40s. So way, way too warm for there to be any kind of snow accumulation, if any snow does fall. And actually we'll have to cool off a little bit more before the snow can begin. Okay, so that's 10:30 p.m. We stop the clock at 5 a.m. and you can see the heavy rains kind of pushed off to the east. Now everything is beginning to sink southward. So the low pressure system comes our way, and a low pressure system circulates like this. So as the low's coming our way, we're getting southerly winds. Once that low pressure system pushes over here, the winds come from the north and we begin to pull the stuff in from the north. So that's what's happening here. And I want you to note, this is 5 a.m. Thanksgiving Day. Note that what we have there is we have a mix of rain and snow. The pink is a rain-snow mix according to this model. The blue is snow only. But look at the temperatures. Even Connorsville and Liberty area up in the northwestern corner at 35. Combine that with ground temperatures that are well above freezing still, and all we have is a wet start to your Thanksgiving Day. It may slow you down driving a little bit, but it's not going to be icy. It's not going to strand you. We are not looking at a major winter kind of outbreak. What we're just looking at is some wet snow and some rain, more like driving on a rainy road with a few flakes around. Okay, then as we head to 10:30 a.m., notice temperatures never do get below freezing or get to freezing or below, and the ground stays fairly warm. So by 10:30 a.m., we are done with the snow and rain for Thanksgiving Day. Okay, now this particular model is the worst case scenario. Okay, in other words, it's got more snow than any of the other models. It's got 0.2 of an inch, or about a 1/4 inch of snow down as far south as Dry Ridge. Now remember how warm it is. So if Dry Ridge gets 0.2 of an inch of snow out of this Thanksgiving morning, it'll melt immediately and you won't see it. I mean, and then the model is saying that the heaviest snowfall amounts, now again, this is the model with the most snow for our viewing area. So it's the worst case scenario. 1.9 inches around Batesville, 1.5 or 1.4 in Connorsville, less than an inch in Lawrenceburg, about an inch in Hamilton, Middletown 1.3, 1.2 Lebanon, Wilmington 1.6, 1.1 in Hillsborough, and then everything else just a couple tenths that'll melt immediately. All right, so that is the model that we call the worst case scenario, or the one that has the most snow. Okay, the next model I'm going to show you has the least snow. Okay, so if we take a look at the least snow, It says 2/10 of an inch for Batesville, 7/10 for Connersville, and nothing anywhere else. So, and your best bet on this is to think, okay, somewhere in between. So it said 1.9 inches for Batesville. You take the average of 1.9 and 0.2, that's 2.1, rounding it, 1.6 inches. And again, since everything is so much warmer than freezing, it is just going to melt off, and that would be the end of that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the evening forecast. The sun went down today at 5:18. By 11 o'clock, we dropped from the current temperature of 40 to 33. Overnight, we have a low of 34. Now, this is one of those tricky things that we end up with. The low overnight tonight, 34, that's at 1 a.m. Okay, and then we begin to warm up as that storm comes our way and the southerly winds increase a little bit. We begin to warm up and we make it into the upper half of the 30s by the time we get to 7 a.m. and then up to about 43 by 11 a.m. as that system begins to come our way. Okay, so this is one of those things where you have to explain that the low temperature doesn't happen in the early morning. Most of the time, the low occurs around sunset, a little bit after mostly. But in this case, it's going to occur about 1 a.m. Okay, now the Climate Prediction Center's latest is in. Notice that colder than normal weather in the darker blue, the darkest of the dark blue, showing up right here, is off to the east coast. We're still colder than normal, and that's through the 6th of December. All right. Then we're looking up to the 10th of December. We're looking at still colder than normal, but beginning to warm up because we're getting less and less colder than normal. And then again, this is the one that came out Friday. That's the week's 3 to 4 temperature outlook, and it's showing the cooler air pulling off to the north and east. Precipitation-wise, through the 6th of December, below normal, staying below normal through the 10th of December. And that does not mean no precipitation. It just means less than would get on the average around here. And then about normal through the 24th of December. Okay, so here is your 7-day forecast. We're looking at this. We're looking at high temperature of 45 tomorrow after a low of 34, 38 and 44 for Thanksgiving Day. So afternoon showers changes over to that mixed into a mix of rain and wet snow, coming to an end Thursday morning. Just a chance for a flurry Friday, just a little chance, I don't think much of that. A flake or two on Saturday, a few flurries Sunday morning, and then partly cloudy for Monday and Tuesday. So we have, out of 7 days, we have 5 with high temperatures in the 30s and 2 with lows in the teens. Okay, now beyond the 7-day forecast looks like this. Okay, look at the high temperatures, as cold as we've got 2 in the 40s, 1 in the 20s, and the other 4 in the 30s with a couple lows, actually 3 lows in the teens. So it's going to be chilly, and the way things are stacking up, notice all that precipitation. Every single day says we have a chance of precipitation. I'll explain why that's not a lot to worry about here in just a couple seconds. Okay, and then here's your summary graphic. So the summary graphic looks like this. There are the highs, there are the lows. We add on the lines, and you see that we spend most of the time in the next 2 weeks below normal. If you would average that out, the highs and the lows, and take the average, we would definitely be below normal. So the takeaway from this 14-day forecast is this. Colder than normal for that 14 days, drier than normal, even though we've got precipitation on that 7-day graph every single day, drier than normal. We'll have several low moisture clipper systems coming our way, and that's what I'm going to explain in just a minute. And a few episodes of light snow possible because of those clipper systems coming into the tri-state. All right, so what I'm going to do here is go to a map which shows the jet stream, or at least I can explain where the jet stream is with this. I think this is it. Hang on, just to see. Yeah, that's it. All right, so this is it behind me. I'll take it full screen at first, and so you can see what it looks like. Now, if I explain this, the jet stream occurs where the lines are most closely spaced, okay? And typically that would be here in this green area. So on the north side of the jet stream is the cold air. On the south side of the jet stream is the warm air. And jet stream, it's changeable depending on where the jet goes. Now let's watch what's going to happen here. And I'll explain I'm going to move it through by hand. I'll explain why we have a chance of snow frequently, but it's no big deal. No big storms coming our way, just moisture-starved storms, okay? So watch what happens. The low pressure system, see how the jet stream's heading south right there? Okay, that's Thanksgiving Day. And notice it's still heading south. Okay, so I'm going to stop it right there on the 29th, on Friday. So what's happening here is the jet stream is dipping southward like this, okay? So we find ourselves on the cold side of the jet. And typically when this happens, and because, back up one more, sorry, storm systems are powered, energized by the jet stream. There are other energy sources once they get going, but the jet stream is basically the power and the guidance where it's going to go. So you have the jet stream right in here, okay, and so this would also be called the storm track. Now, what's going to happen here is the systems that come our way are what we call those Alberta clippers. They were first discovered in Alberta, Canada, and they would head along pretty fast. They're named after clipper ships from sailing days in the ocean. A clipper ship had a lot of sails and could move very fast, and that's what these are. They're fast movers. Because they're coming out of Canada, they don't have a lot of moisture with them. Because they're moving fast, there's not a lot of time for the moisture to come northward from the Gulf of Mexico. That's where we get most of the moisture for our precipitation around here. So a clipper system then can come our way. It's moisture starved because it moves quickly enough in most cases that the moisture doesn't have time to make it this far north from the Gulf. Doesn't have a lot of moisture with it, and so it comes around like this, okay? So when you saw that second 7-day forecast, we expect to be in this kind of a situation for a while. So we get these little clipper disturbances coming out of Canada. Don't have a lot of moisture with them, but they could bring a little snow or rain, not a lot, but a little, and they move right on through pretty quickly, okay? And so that's what we're looking at. When you have a situation like this, but this dip in the jet stream, we call it trough, is out here, okay? So if this dip in the jet stream was moved out here to the west and was going like this, we'd have air coming out of the south and west dragging Gulf of Mexico moisture with it, and that could bring us more substantial rainfall. But in this case, because this is the jet right in here, the jet stream guides the little weak clipper systems. They move pretty quickly. They move quickly enough that they can't pull the moisture out of the Gulf, and they pass through the tri-state. And so that's why we have that chance of rain or snow each of those chilly days on that second 7 days. And that's why I'm not too worried about it, because it's not going to mean a lot of snow or a lot of rainfall. So let's go ahead and watch this when it goes through the rest of, okay. Oh, I guess I did the whole thing, huh? There we go. So you see we're under that northwesterly flow for quite some time right there. I mean, we're still on the 6th of December. If you look at this, we are still under that northwesterly flow, okay? So, and this is extremely cold. This is brutally cold air up here. This is James Bay, this is Hudson Bay, and that's going to stay north of us. But notice we still have this northwesterly flow, so we get clipper systems coming out of Canada. They don't have a lot of moisture because they're coming from Canada, which is, big dry area. They move too fast for Gulf of Mexico moisture to make it this far north, and they come through with a little bit of light precipitation. That's through this ends on the 6th of December, and so as we head on into the middle of December, we'll probably begin to see ourselves dig out of this system, this northwesterly flow system, and become a little bit more normal. So that's why when you saw those maps from the Climate Prediction Center, it had colder than normal, but the colder than normal weather moving off to the east, and it had drier than normal. It's drier than normal because Alberta clippers coming out of Canada don't have a lot of moisture with them. So that's what we're looking at there right now. So when you go back to, let me go back to that forecast. I'm going to go back to the 7-day and beyond the 7-day quickly here. Okay. It's loading. It'll take a few seconds. So when we look at this, I'll show you what's going on here. All right, so we'll put this full so you can see it first. Okay, so there's the 7-day forecast, and notice high temperatures do begin to decline. In other words, we begin to get pretty far below normal here, so that's when that northwesterly flow is developing. And then that's why we have a chance of flurries, a flake or two, a few flurries, then partly cloudy for a while. And when we go to beyond the 7-day forecast, what you're going to see, and I'll give it to you full screen, then point it out, each and every day is a chance of precipitation. Well, you can tell on Thursday the 5th, if that's at night and we drop into the 20s, it would be some snow. If it's during the day, it hits 40, it could be snow or it could be rain or rain and snow mixed. And so each of those days, and clippers are notoriously hard to forecast this far out because they tend to pop up and come through quickly and with only a day or two's notice. And that's what we are definitely looking at. We are looking at the possibility of Alberta clippers, each day bringing a little bit of light precipitation, but nothing really big. And so even though this beyond the 7-day forecast, which goes out to the 10th of the month of December, is cold and it looks snowy, it's not the kind of weather pattern that brings us big snowstorms. As a matter of just a second, I got to close the door because we've got some young reporters enjoying their dinner out there. So this is not the kind of pattern that brings us those big accumulating snowfalls and, that gives us days and days of snow shoveling and bad driving. It's the Alberta Clipper type of weather that dumps a little bit of snow each and every time, but not much. So no big storms, cold weather, but no brutal Arctic outbreak that lasts a long, long time. Okay, let me go over to Facebook now, see what we got as far as comments or questions. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I'm just looking at it. Susan Wally says, good evening. Excited to hear the forecast. Me too, Susan. Thank you much for watching. I'm just going to say this wrong. Rada Tiptani, I guess, is clapping. He's got a clapping icon there. Betty says, hello, Steve Horstmeyer. How does snow form? That's a really good question, Betty. I'll get to that in just a second. And Kayla, I do not know about the live for the little boy's family in Westchester. I just don't know what the timing on that was and what happened. Okay, now Betty, how does snow form? Okay, so what happens is high in the atmosphere, and this is really pretty interesting because most cases, except on really warm days, even except for the hottest days in summer, precipitation forms way up in the atmosphere, and it usually forms as snowflakes. Of course, in the summer, it's warm enough that they melt pretty fast and come down as rain. Okay, that doesn't happen all the time, but it happens a lot of times. But what you have excuse me, and because snow forms, because precipitation usually forms as snow, the raindrops you get in most cases are just melted snowflakes that kind of bunch up together on the way down and turn into a bigger drop. But if you go upstairs high in the atmosphere and you get to a zone where the temperature is about 15 degrees Celsius, so let's say about 0 Fahrenheit, and there's enough moisture up there, that's the perfect zone to get the snowflakes form. And the way it really happens is as a little bit of water vapor, a single molecule of water that's gaseous. If you look at it, it kind of looks like a Mickey Mouse face with Mickey Mouse ears, and it's H2O. So the big molecule is the oxygen. The little ears, or the molecules that are smaller, are the hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen molecules have one electron and one proton, and the proton is positive, the electron is negative, and so it's in balance. It's net charge of 0. Okay, the oxygen molecule has enough room that it can share electrons. So when a water molecule out there has formed, you have the ears with their one electron sharing that electron with the oxygen. And so since the electron is negatively charged, the ear part of the water molecule has a slight positive charge, okay? The other side of the molecule, away from the ears, has 2 extra electrons every once in a while from sharing with the hydrogen, so it's got a slight negative charge. Well, we know what happens, positives and negatives attract, and so you can get a water molecule, the Mickey Mouse ears ends of it, the positive end will be attracted to the negative end of another water molecule, and they begin to stick together if the temperature's right and the wind's not too high and all that. And eventually, under the right temperature and moisture conditions, they'll grow into snowflakes. Then, once the snowflakes form and they fall through the warmer air in the warm season, they melt to raindrops. In winter, if it's cold enough, they can make it to the ground. Now, that's the easy, because there are a lot of different kinds of frozen precipitation. There's something we call graupel, there's sleet, there's all kinds of other stuff. And so particular situations in the atmosphere dictate particular different types of precipitation. So when you see like sleet, we know what's happened is that upstairs it starts out as snowfall, falls through a warm layer in the atmosphere and melts to raindrops, and then falls through a cold layer and refreezes. Okay, now if that cold layer extends all the way to the ground, the sleet pellets you see, some of those that bounce off the pavement like that, started out as snowflakes. They melted to raindrops, they refroze to little balls of ice, and sleet is technically called ice pellets, and they make it to the ground. So that's just one example. You go from cold to above freezing to below freezing to get sleet. Snow, it's got to be at or below freezing all the way down, and then if it's above freezing by enough, you end up with those snowflakes melting to rain. And if it's kind of on the edge, kind of on the boundary there, you have some snowflakes making it to the ground, some of them melt to raindrops, and you get that rain-snow mix. And I tell you what, that's something that people didn't really know a lot about for quite a while, and we know a lot more about them now. So when I see sleet falling to the ground, we know exactly what's going on upstairs. Cold layer, warm layer, cold layer down to the ground. When you see snowflakes making it all the way to the ground, let's see the big ones that look like doilies. I remember my grandmother, when you'd go, she'd have her little tables and all that. Everything had a doily, those doilies under it. That's what the snowflakes remind me of. And if you get the big flakes, you know what's going on upstairs. If you get the little flakes, or sometimes just grains of snow, they all tell you something about what's going on in the atmosphere. Okay, then Dennis Fisher says, hey, Steve, will there be a white Christmas? Dennis, there'll be a white Christmas somewhere, not necessarily Cincinnati. How's that for a squirming out of an awkward forecast? It's too early to tell. We've got a chance. As we head to the 10th, we've got a very active weather pattern, and that jet stream pattern I showed you seems to want to kind of hold on for a while. Looks like we'll begin to warm up, though, as we head toward Christmas. So there's a chance. Keep your fingers crossed. The best kind of white Christmas we can have is one where the roads are still warm and the air is just about freezing, so it accumulates on branches and the grass and railings, but not on the streets, so people can get to where they have to go. So too early to tell, Dennis, but as soon as we have an idea, we'll let you know about a white Christmas. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, that's it for the comments. Let me go over the forecast one more time if you joined late so you have got an idea what's going to happen. I'll start off with what the Climate Prediction Center has put out for today. And I will take it full screen as soon as it pops up behind me there. Okay, so that deep blue area in the east, so actually the colder than normal weather extends all the way into the middle and high plains from Texas up to North Dakota. But the coldest of the cold weather is the darker blue from the east coast back into our viewing area. So that's through December 6th. Okay, then the second part of the Climate Prediction Center's forecast is out to the 10th. And that, notice we're not in as dark a blue color, so that means not as far below normal. All right, and then by the time we get to December 24th, we're beginning to go back to normal. Okay, so oftentimes when you go back to normal from cold weather, you do have some storms coming our way. So this would make me think that as far as a white Christmas goes, maybe a little bit better chance than most years. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Drier than normal, and those are for the reasons I explained about the jet stream and the Alberta Clippers through the 6th, through the 10th, and then back to about normal as we head toward Christmas Day. All right, your 7-day forecast looks like this. Low tonight 34, high tomorrow 45. If you have to work tomorrow, dry weather for the morning commute, but showers will begin to pop up in the afternoon and early evening. Those showers become more widespread, sometimes heavy rain during the latter evening hours, so let's say between 9 p.m. and midnight, and then changes over to a mix of rain and snow as we head into Thanksgiving morning. But notice the temperatures, 38 for the low Thanksgiving morning, 44 for the high Thanksgiving day. So that tells you it's going to be a wet situation. If some places get a snow burst pretty quickly, just a little one that lasts a few minutes, you might have a little bit of slush temporarily on the roads until it can melt off, but it's not going to last very long. It's just going to be wet roads you have to contend with Wednesday night into Thanksgiving morning. Friday, chance of a flurry, not a big chance. Saturday, late, probably Saturday night into Sunday morning, a chance of a few flakes or flurries, and then partly cloudy and cold for Monday and Tuesday. When we get to beyond the 7-day forecast, this one starts on the 4th, goes to the 10th of the month. Can you believe it? We're already talking about the 10th of December. And this is the panel that we're ahead. Each and every day has the chance of a little precipitation, okay? And that's because we have those clippers coming through. And even though a clipper may take one day to get from Alberta, Canada to the east of us, it could bring snow any one of those days if it comes. And again, not a lot of snow because it's coming from Canada, doesn't have moisture with it, and it's moving too fast to suck up a bunch of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. And so each day has the chance for precipitation. It's not heavy precipitation. It's not a traffic stopper, just a little bit of a nuisance coming our way on those 7 days. And then here's your summary graphic, and this tells you better what's going on. Take a look at the high temperatures. They're the lows. We put on the normal lines. You can see 14 out of 14 days on the high temperature side below normal, a couple days above normal on the low temperature side, but mostly below normal. And the takeaway from this particular graph and forecast is that it's going to stay colder than normal through the next 14 days, also drier than normal because of that Alberta clipper type of situation. We will have several low moisture clipper systems come our way. Those are the ones that dive southward out of Canada. And then a few episodes of light snow are possible. So not a lot of snow, not a big snow, not one where it's going to take you all day to shovel your sidewalk because it's so big and heavy. Just a couple episodes of some light snow and possibly mixed with rain. Okay, so that is it for now. Let me take a quick check, see if anybody else has commented on Facebook. And Dennis Fisher says, thank you. You're welcome, Dennis, and I hope everybody enjoyed what we just said here. We'll talk about it in more detail tomorrow. Of course, by this time tomorrow, we should see that rain moving into the tri-state, and we should see some snow between here and Indianapolis mixed in with the rain. So we'll talk about it more tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. Have yourself a nice evening. Don't forget, I'll be on tonight at 10 on Fox 19 Now, and our morning cruise starts at 4:30 a.m., and goes till noon every single day. And then at noon, we've got that live streaming weather show, and you can find that where you found this one. Have yourself a nice evening, and thanks for joining me.